Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into something called neuroinflammation. Think of it as a hidden fire in your brain. We're going to look at what causes it and, maybe more importantly, explore a really surprising way to manage one of its biggest triggers, stress. So let's get right into it. So let me just start with a question for you. You ever have one of those days, or let's be honest, maybe one of those weeks, where you just feel like your brain is stuck in a thick fog? Maybe you're feeling weirdly tired, or your mood is just all over the map. Well, if that sounds familiar, there might be something specific happening behind the scenes. And that something actually has a name: neuroinflammation. It's basically your brain's own immune response kicking into high gear. So let's meet the key players in this internal security system of yours. Okay, probably the easiest way to wrap your head around this whole idea is with a pretty simple analogy. Imagine you sprain your ankle. What happens? It gets all swollen and inflamed, right? That's your body rushing in to protect and repair it. Well, neuroinflammation is kind of the same idea. It's just the brain's version of dealing with some kind of challenge or threat. So who are the first responders on the scene? Well, meet the microglia. You can seriously think of these guys as the brain's tiny, super dedicated security guards. They are constantly patrolling your central nervous system, and the second they spot a problem, they spring into action, change their shape, and kick off that whole inflammatory response. And right alongside them, you've got the astrocytes. These are these incredible star-shaped cells that normally just provide nutrients and structure. But when inflammation shows up, they can become reactive. Now, sometimes this is a great thing. They help form a barrier to seal off damage. But other times, they can actually crank up the inflammatory signals and end up making the whole problem even worse. And that brings up a really crucial point. Is all this inflammation a good thing or a bad thing? Well, like so many things in our bodies, the answer is it's a bit complicated. It can absolutely be both your friend and your foe. This slide really breaks it down. See, on one side, you have acute inflammation. This is your friend. It's a short-term, totally protective response that helps your brain fix itself. But on the other side, that's where you find chronic inflammation. This is the foe. It's this long-term, low-level, smoldering fire that can cause real damage, speed up brain aging, and lead to that brain fog we were just talking about. So if that chronic, smoldering inflammation is the big problem, what's actually causing it? What's keeping that alarm system switched on all the time? Let's unpack some of the main triggers. The triggers can be all sorts of things, from infections and brain injuries to autoimmune conditions. Even inflammation happening somewhere else in your body, like in your gut, can send signals up to the brain. But I want you to really zoom in on that last one: chronic psychological stress. This is a huge driver, and the key thing here is that it's one we might actually be able to do something about. Which, of course, leads us to the big question. If chronic stress is constantly fanning the flames of neuroinflammation, how in the world can we calm down a system that's just stuck on high alert? Well, it turns out there's a fascinating complementary approach we should look at. And that surprising ally is something called solution-focused hypnotherapy, or SFH. Now, let's be really clear here. This is not some kind of direct cure for inflammation. Instead, think of SFH as a powerful but indirect way to help turn down the volume on the drivers of that inflammation, especially that chronic stress we just highlighted. Okay, so how does it actually work? How can a therapy like this possibly influence the immune system inside our own brains? Let's break down the science behind it. The best way to think about SFH is that it gives you a whole toolkit for your brain health. It doesn't just do one thing. It tackles the problem from a bunch of different angles. From lowering stress and helping you sleep better, to directly influencing nerve pathways, and even helping your brain literally rewire itself. So step 1 is what SFH practitioners call emptying the stress bucket. Through deep relaxation, it helps you switch off your body's fight or flight alarm system and switch on the calming rest and digest system. This brings down stress hormones like cortisol, which means those little microglia, our brain's security guards, get fewer signals telling them to stay on high alert. Here's another really cool mechanism. SFH can actually boost the function of your vagus nerve. And this nerve is amazing. It acts like a natural brake on inflammation all throughout your body. We can even measure this with something called heart rate variability. Basically, a higher vagal tone is directly linked to lower levels of inflammation. Pretty cool, right? Look, anyone who has ever been stressed out knows how much it messes with your sleep. Well, SFH can be incredibly effective at improving sleep quality. And why is that so important? Because deep sleep is when the brain's own special cleaning crew, it's called the glymphatic system, really gets to work, flushing out all the metabolic junk and inflammatory byproducts. So better sleep literally means a cleaner, less inflamed brain. And this is so important. It's not just about relaxation. SFH actively uses your brain's amazing ability to rewire itself, which is a process we call neuroplasticity. By getting you to focus on positive future images and solutions, it helps you build new, healthier neural pathways, pathways that are less focused on threat and stress. And that, in turn, helps reduce all that stress-driven inflammation. All right, let's pull all of this together. We've talked about the fire of neuroinflammation and the fuel of chronic stress. So here are the main takeaways you need for getting yourself a calmer brain. I think the most important message to take away from all this is one of empowerment. You might not be able to directly reach in and control the inflammatory process itself, but you absolutely can manage the factors that are fueling it. By tackling a huge driver like chronic stress, you can have a really powerful, positive influence on your brain's health. And this quote from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. It really shows that vicious cycle, right? Inflammation can cause low mood, and then low mood and stress can cause more inflammation. SFH helps you break out of that cycle by promoting relaxation and changing those underlying thought patterns. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. We often think of our brain as just, biological hardware. But what if the real key to cooling down the physical inflammation inside of it actually lies in calming the mind that's running the whole show?